Your Denver Broncos are making waves across the NFL, and it feels incredible. We've come a long way from being the league's laughingstock to now being the team everyone is talking about at ownership meetings. It's a complete turnaround, and there's a lot to unpack. We've got an exciting top 30 draft visit to dive into, which gives us a glimpse into the Broncos' plans. There's a lot more to cover in this video, so stick around. If you're new here, I'm a die-hard Broncos fan, and if you enjoy this content, hitting that like and subscribe button helps the channel out a ton. Now, this one stings a bit, because I've always been a huge fan of Kyle Shanahan. Initially, I really hoped he'd become the Broncos' head coach, but now he's all over Twitter, and it's not for the best reasons. The internet is buzzing about how worn out and down he looks, and some of that is thanks to your Denver Broncos. We made a major impact on the San Francisco 49ers when we nabbed Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga, even though Shanahan and general manager John Lynch flew out to make a final pitch to keep Greenlaw in San Francisco. Shanahan's reaction has been tough to watch, with his visible dejection. He spoke about how losing these players was one of the hardest moments of his coaching career, not just because they're exceptional athletes, but because they're great people. They're two of his all-time favorite players. That's a huge win for the Broncos, and while I don't want to take pleasure in someone else's disappointment, it's hard not to appreciate the impact our moves are having. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still a fan of Shanahan, and I hope things turn around for him in San Francisco. After all, he's part of what I like to call Denver West, with John Lynch and Christian McCaffrey both having ties to Denver. But it's hard not to smile knowing that these key players are now with the Broncos. This is the kind of move that leaves an impact, and if you ask coaches like Pete Carroll how they felt about losing Russell Wilson to Denver, or if you could ask the Jacksonville Jaguars about losing Evan Engram, a former team captain, I bet you'd see similar reactions. It's a sign that we're on the right path. Also, there was a great article on Sports Illustrated that interviewed both Sean McDermott and Andy Reid about Bo Nix, and their words were full of praise. McDermott believes Nix is destined for greatness, and I agree. We streamed that entire game where Nix played against Buffalo as a rookie in his first ever playoff game. That's not an easy place to make your debut, especially in a city like Buffalo where the pressure is immense. But Nix stood tall and delivered an outstanding performance. Even the Bills' coach had to give credit where it was due. Bo Nix continues to impress the NFL, and the praise just keeps coming. Coaches across the league are starting to take notice, with Sean McDermott stating, "This guy is destined for greatness." He went on to talk about how Nix played a solid game despite the team's challenges, including a lack of a running game, a thin tight end group, and defensive struggles. McDermott made it clear that we've only scratched the surface of what this Denver Broncos team can do. Additionally, we heard from Kansas City Chiefs head coach Andy Reid at the NFL owners meeting, where he praised Nix, calling him a great athlete with a bright future. Reid also added that Nix is a heck of a player. It's clear that these top coaches recognize the potential of the Broncos' new quarterback. When we drafted Bo Nix, there were plenty of doubters. Many thought it was a stretch, calling him a third-round pick at best and expecting him to be a check-down merchant. But let's not forget Nix was the second-best deep ball passer last season, all without a tight end and with mostly rookie receivers, plus veteran Courtland Sutton. The future for Nix and the Broncos is looking incredibly bright, and it's an exciting time to be a Broncos fan. Now on to some big news from the draft front. Caleb Johnson recently visited the Broncos, and he was so excited about the experience that he shared a photo at the team's training facility. Johnson is a standout player with a lot of potential, and he's quickly become one to watch. Cameron Parker on Twitter pointed out that while Johnson's numbers might not be as flashy as other prospects like Ashton Gentry or American Hampton, that's because he was playing for an offense that didn't have much support. Johnson played in the Big Ten, facing some of the nation's toughest defenses, and still put up impressive stats. Plus, with little to no threat of a passing game, let's be honest, who could name an Iowa receiver or quarterback? He still managed to dominate. He's a top-tier talent coming from one of the strongest football conferences. The fact that Johnson is so excited about the Broncos and posted about it shows just how serious he is about joining the team. This could be a sign that the Broncos aren't targeting a running back in the first round of the draft. I came across an interesting tweet from Reigns Design, where they suggested the Raiders shouldn't draft Ashton Gentry with the 6th overall pick. Looking at the past 10 highest-ranked running backs entering the NFL draft, it's clear that few of them end up staying with the team that originally drafted them. For example, Saquon Barkley now plays for the Eagles, Ezekiel Elliott has bounced around, and Leonard Fournette is no longer with his original team. The only exception is Bijan Robinson, and he's likely only with Atlanta due to his rookie contract. With so much talent in this year's running back class, it seems unlikely the Broncos will pick a running back in the first round, unless, of course, Gentry somehow falls to us. Bringing in Caleb Johnson is a smart move for the Denver Broncos, as it aligns with the team's strategy of picking the best available player in the draft, regardless of position. In the first round, the Broncos shouldn't draft based on need. They should take the best player still on the board. With Sean Payton at the helm, we can trust that he'll identify the player he's truly excited about. Now, when it comes to who might be available, the Broncos are in a great position. We recently heard that the Indianapolis Colts are likely to bypass drafting a tight end with their pick, instead focusing on offensive line. This is a good sign for the Broncos, as we don't need to target offensive linemen. We're set in that area. This opens up the opportunity for a more talented player to fall to us. The best case scenario is even more exciting. On the Up and Adams show, a plugged-in draft reporter known for accurate scoops shared a hot take. Jackson Dart is likely to go in the top 10. That would be huge for the Broncos. If 3 quarterbacks are taken in the first round, followed by a couple of offensive linemen and other positions we don't need, that leaves the Broncos in prime position to pick up a player like Ashton Gentry. The chances of him falling to us would increase dramatically, making this a great scenario for Denver. Another exciting bit of news. Troy Franklin is switching his jersey number from 16 to the number he wore at Oregon, number 11. Fans will remember the incredible connection between Franklin and Bo Nix during their time at Oregon, and now they'll get to see it again in Denver. If you were planning on buying a number 16 Troy Franklin jersey, better hold off. He'll be wearing number 11 next season. But don't worry, whoever wears 16 will surely make their own mark on the team. Finally, some news that could be a big help for the Broncos in the AFC playoff race. On the Pat McAfee show, it was revealed that Cincinnati Bengals defensive end Trey Hendrickson is frustrated with how the team is handling things. Reports say communication has been lacking, and Hendrickson is unhappy with the way the Bengals are running their business. This is significant because the Bengals have been focusing most of their resources on the offensive side of the ball, which has led to unrest in the locker room. This dysfunction could be an advantage for the Broncos, especially since we'll be facing Cincinnati next season. After losing to them in overtime last year, we'll be ready for a rematch and hopefully a different outcome. Lastly, a question for Broncos country. George Paton recently mentioned that the Broncos will target a running back between the 2nd and 6th rounds of the draft, saying you can find great talent in those rounds. Do you think this is a smokescreen and the Broncos are actually planning to draft a running back in the first round? Or do you believe they'll stick to the plan and go after a running back later in the draft? Let me know your thoughts. Either way, it's an exciting time to be a Broncos fan.